So I had a student recently publish a video on this site, which is fine for me, making fun of the fact that they play sound chess. And that is something that I absolutely believe in, playing sound chess. However, playing unsound chess is much more fun. And it gets the job done in many cases, and it's very well worth learning. And so, one of the things I'm going to cover here is the kind of a defense that we are forced to play when we can't play unsound chess. And that's when white opens knight to f3 or opens c4. And I haven't found any good unsound openings to play against those. I've experimented with a lot of different things, and they always have a way of steering it back into some standard book line that works. And the most forcing defense that I've found that works on the black side of those openings is the Dutch. And it's a little dangerous to play the Dutch against either of those as opposed to just d4, because they haven't committed to a structure yet that the Dutch is happy about. For instance, if they hold back and play d3 and e4 in these type of fianchettoed setups, for instance, as white, it can challenge the Dutch. So what we do is we do a variety of other things. If we can't play f5 unsoundly in some way as black, like I've had whole profiles where I just played f5 against anything that was played, and that's how I discovered this. For instance, I just move f5 against everything. Of course, nobody's ever opened g4 against me, but I get a pretty high rating, playing just f5 as black against everything. And the fact is that f5 is perfectly sound against c4 or knight to f3, and so we play it anyway. And we need to remember that in terms of being aggressive, shoving the f-pawn further and attacking a fianchettoed position, the white's fianchettoed position, which usually happens against the Dutch, is pretty fruitless, although it can work. In general, that's a pretty good fortified position. I mean, Botvinnik really established that as something that is pretty unassailable. Now, what I try to do is I have a very bad white squared bishop in the Dutch. I play Stonewall Dutch for the most part, although I'll transfer into Leningrad Dutch when forced to. But the Stonewall Dutch has all the pawns on white squares, and the bishop is hopeless. And so what I try to do is maneuver that bishop and get it out of there as soon as possible without creating any structural weaknesses. I'll trade it off for anything I can. And the fact is that white often is ending up on the queen side with some sort of minority attack, while black is fruitlessly trying to attack that fianchetto position on the king side. But we have to remember that soundness matters. In this particular case, there are methods of playing that are less than sound, but this is real solid Kramnik style chess. So I'm going to give you some examples here, and the first example that we're going to come up with is this one. And this one was a blitz game against a 23-31, and we're going to get going right away. Here's my Stonewall. Now, as you see, white is in a position of doing things other than pushing d4. He's pushed d3, which means he's going to try to get an e4 as soon as he can. Now, I play the c5 move, which I find annoys them. So it's not a true Stonewall anymore, and I've opened some structural weaknesses in an extremely long diagonal for his white squared bishop. But then again, I prefer somewhat open games if I can get away with them. Now we're beginning to take a little bit of a Benoni type look at this, and what they have is now they have an open F file, but they still have slight advantage here. I should turn the engine on. Not much of an advantage. I see that the computer wanted me to kick. Now he's going to challenge my center, which doesn't get him anywhere. And now what we see is we have an essentially completely even game. So we'll continue on, and he moving in the corner. I'm playing all the number one moves. Look at this. Now it says that white should be taking that, but he moves elsewhere, and now black seizes the initiative. Once again, number one moved by yours truly here. Knight just goes back where it was, and we snatch the c pawn, which is a little dangerous. Now there's a potential like discovered attack coming. We have to be fairly careful of what we do here. See, it wanted me to move the knight back to a5 attacking the queen, but I don't like the knights on the rim, so. Now, in a sense, what I have here is I have a bad d6 bishop, but it's just a blockader, and I don't really care, so. Okay, so we have this exchange coming that the computer's recommended. Once again, it's fairly even game. I've given up my larger advantage, although it does say by pushing e4 here I get a significant advantage, and I don't seize the opportunity soon enough. I believe I finally do get it in, though. Now it's recommending e4 for white. Now, black goes a little astray here, attacking the a pawn. Because I also could have just played e4 there. It's begging white to play e4 over and over. Now he just shifts his rook, and now I play e4. No, it doesn't have the same impact. Looks like he can bust my pawn chain apart with g4. I'll still have an advantage. Instead he attacks my knight. And now we begin to get into a tactical exchange, which is something I love. Okay. Interestingly, the computer now wants me to solidify, so white's going to play g4 here, and I'm going to just take the d pawn, which is attacked, and that looks hideously dangerous, doesn't it? So I don't recall it playing a move like that. Yes, bishop to e2 is the solid move. Rook back, bishop back. Let's see where it wanted me to put my bishop. Yep, right where I put it. Now it's going to move knight to c4, the preferred move. Okay. Now we exchange. Oh, I wonder why I didn't play b5. I thought for sure I could. Instead I play b6 and lose a large amount of my advantage. Huh. But I still have an advantage anyway. So that's if he checks, which he doesn't do. Instead he shifts back. That's a poison pawn, by the way. Okay. Now I get in b5 anyway. Says he should be trying to get rid of my bishop. And instead he gives me a pawn duo. And the interesting thing about this is my opponent at this point resigned. Now, there are 2 or 3 reasons why. Number one, he's a highly rated opponent, and he recognizes he's down close to 3. But also, he's way down on time. You know, and I'm about to start pushing and dominating the A file, so you know, I have a variety of ways to double my rooks and pick up the D pawn, and he's in pretty much a hopeless position here. So, the fact is that he resigned, and I thought it would be useful and make my students happy to show you that yes, I do play sound chess. I don't think you can point to anything in this game that was anything but sound. Mostly positional, but some tactics, and it's because I was forced to by the opening, and somebody who plays c4, knight to f3 gets the Dutch, so it's the most aggressive forcing opening I can find against those lines. And thank you for